Come to order, please. If you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning. Welcome to the regular meeting of CCWD, Wednesday, May the 27th. Mona, if you'll call the roll.
Yes, Director Davidson.
Here.
Director Ratterman.
Here.
President Underhill.
Here.
Director Mills.
Present.
And Director Strange.
Here.
At this point, we will call for public comment. At this time, members of the public may address the board on any non-agendized item. The public is encouraged to work through staff to place items on the agenda for board consideration. No action can be taken on matters not listed on the agenda. Comments are limited to 5 minutes per person. We have some public. Do we have any public comment?
Thank you, Peter Ray, gentlemen. I was looking through what's coming on and schedule. I believe we had a closed session on pending litigation, and I missed it. Unless I fully understand confidentiality, okay? But I believe we made a report to the public after, okay? Now, I must have skipped. I know it was a closed session. I fully respect it, pending litigation. But was there any report was done on it? I did not see any report on any of these paperwork that you gave out today. Now, I'm sure you did follow the law and you made a report in an empty room. Could somebody repeat whatever was the comment at that time? It's not on the agenda, so it's...
I'll refer to our lawyer.
If you're referring to the closed session that was last week, there was no reportable action.
No report was, nothing was taken, no action was taken. Okay, thank you.
Item number 3, is any more public? Seeing none, item number 3 is our consent agenda, and we have nothing to report. Item number 4 is our reports, and I'm ready for the general manager.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. I just have a brief report today, just to keep you updated on some of the key things that we're working on. The Lake Tulloch, lowering the intake at Lake Tulloch continues to be one of our highest priorities, and Bill Purley has been working closely with John Christensen of Christensen and Associates, who's actually provided us with a proposal on lowering the intake. And as you can see, I noted that in my memo. That was the initial estimate is 1.3 million. We needed better information, a conceptual design and preliminary cost estimate that we could present to the state for funding and move forward with this project. And again, the main issue for us is the lead time on manufacturing the pumps, which can take up to 6 months. Bill Purley has been working directly with John very closely on this, communicating with him constantly since receiving the proposal. And Bill has actually formulated a new, based on what John provided. Bill has come up with a design that he thinks is actually going to be more cost effective. It's going to be less cost to construct and easier for us to operate and maintain, and relieve some of the issues we would potentially have with the challenges in putting these pumps and being able to set pumps in an elevation to operate at different elevations and the complexities of that. And I certainly am no expert in that, but he's been working closely with John and with the manufacturer of the pumps to come up with basically a new concept that he thinks will be again less expensive and easier for us to operate. And he's working closely with John to update his proposal to include this. At the same time, he's also, as I said, he's working closely with the manufacturer of the pumps, so we already have that in front of them. They're developing the final specs on that, on what we're going to order for the pump, and And so that's underway. We're not losing time on that, and we will have a purchase order signed for that within days. As soon as, and Bill's here. Bill, if you'd like to come up and I'm just talking about the Lake Tulloch situation. And so once Bill finishes with this design, this updated preliminary design with this new concept, then he's going to, we will be filing the application with the state, and again, I think that's within a number of days to be able to do that. Is that?
Yeah, I was just on the phone with the engineer this morning. What we did, we decided to go to one set, one set of pumps down there. That way we don't have to maintain two set of pumps. Not good letting pumps sit around for long periods of time. So all I'm gonna do is extend the outfall about 350 feet out there and put in two sets of pumps, one for high water and one for low water. And that will decrease, like I said, the maintenance time. What we're also doing is we're building a road around the pump station so we can put a platform so we can use a long reach excavator to get out there. And then what we're doing is I'm gonna meet some divers down there tomorrow, Big Valley divers. What we're talking about doing is floating the pumps to the surface, pulling them out that way using the excavator instead of having to go through the body nonsense we're going through right now. The pumps, we have the specification for the pumps. We've been in contact with the manufacturer, and he's, things are already moving on that end. They haven't been got the invoice for it yet, or the purchase order filled out for it yet, but they're already working on the pumps right now. We're gonna use a 2-point system, 1,400 gallons a minute at 150 feet ahead, and then we're also gonna go with 1,400 gallons a minute at 70 feet ahead. One of the problems with trying to get one pump like that, you need a very sharp curve. It doesn't really work that way. You try to use a turn down of the VFD, you might be able to get 200 gallons a minute or so out of that, but not much more, so you can't really do that. So what we finally agreed upon yesterday and today was we're going to go with the one pump system. We'll eliminate the upper pumps. It's going to make our maintenance job a lot easier, and it's going to also probably decrease the cost of the project down to about $900,000 or $1 million, something like that. It's a better way to do it. From a maintenance point of view, it's a heck of a lot better way to do it, because maintaining two sets of pumps underwater is tough stuff. One set of pumps underwater is tough stuff, but two is beyond belief. So that's kind of where we're at right now, and I just talked, like I said, I was talking a few minutes ago. They're supposed to be working up a cost estimate for me. As soon as I get that, I'll forward it through to the state, and we'll see what happens. That's the only thing we're waiting for, to get the green light on the funding.
Excuse me, you made a statement about something was less by, what, 900?
Yeah, well, no, what it is if you do, originally we're gonna do, we're gonna have a two-stage pump system. We're gonna leave the existing pumps in, and then we're gonna put new pumps in down below.
Right, that I understand.
And that was gonna be around $1.3 million was what the estimate we got from the engineers. And there was two options on the table. One was to eliminate the upper pumps, because the construction gets more complicated if you're trying to tie into one system. So if we completely eliminate the pumps and just go straight pipe up there, it's gonna be a lot cheaper. And then what we're also doing too is by building the road that we're gonna build, and Robbie Kramer's working on the easement for us right now. We already made contact with the owners. We're gonna move our fence over at the pump station like 10 feet, and it's gonna allow us to get an excavator down there. You get a slope like this here, and then you get a slope like this here at the pump station. So if we can bring the excavator around there, pour a concrete pad at that, we can do something used called a long reach excavator, reach out there, and then we're gonna put like flotation devices on the pumps, and float the pumps to the surface, and then we'll just pull them off. And that's also, to be honest, is gonna cut our cost on maintenance from, like, say, $40,000 to $50,000 to like $15,000 every time we had to pull those things. So we actually, it's hard to believe, but we actually thought this whole thing through and tried to figure out the easiest. I know, it's amazing.
Is that hard to
Once in a
believe?
while, you know, even the mighty squirrel falls out of the tree. But
Thank you, Bill. That's all for Bill's report. We don't have enough time to get into the rest of it, Bill. Sorry
Yeah,
about that.
that's kind of what we looked at, the overall picture. It wasn't just for the immediate needs, but it was also for the long-term needs too. And if we go with the two-pump system, that you get the smaller pump is 40 horsepower. That's readily available. The thing is, you can't let these motors sit around for any period of time. What happens is the bearings on they're multi-press sealed bearings, and they tend to pit a little bit if you get them sitting around for 10 years without rotating with 1,750 RPMs on a regular basis. Nobody does, and even though they tell you they do, I know for a fact they don't. So.
Excuse me, I had a question on any permitting. Did we
Well,
complete
if
our
it-
permitting, or?
Well, supposedly, this is what's supposed to happen too. Supposedly Cal OES or Cal EMA what's his name, Ken Davinsky, who's the in-known director, is supposed to be assisting us. So we already broke the ice with him on the Mill Pond job because we're submitting to the Corps of Engineers, the wetland delineation, stuff like that. So we're gonna find out exactly what it is. I was actually told by the state board to go through Cal EMA to speed up the permitting process. So he's supposed to be negotiating with us with the Fish and Wildlife people, the FERC people, and the Corps people, or anybody else who's on the list. And we've already started that process on the Mill Pond right now. And I was told it's gonna take about 2 months to get the permitting. So we'll find out what happened, but, I mean, that's part of the governor's orders or something. He's ordered OES to be our middleman, which will help a lot.
Any other questions?
I think on a permit, it's just the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Well, and that's what it
Stay
is.
with
We're
it.
pretty squeaky on this one because we've been keeping, we know those guys pretty good anyway, so it's making things a lot easier for us.
Okay.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it. Thanks for all your work on this. It's a critically important project for us. I also want to update the board on the potential curtailment of pre-1914 water rights. I noted that in there. Some months ago, we got notice from as did across the state, water right holders, that the State Water Board was considering curtailment of pre-1914 water rights. According to State Board staff, this is something that they did back in the 77 drought. But in any event, it's a pretty it's a pretty extraordinary action when they reach that far back into the water right system and would impose a curtailment. Fortunately, the notice of curtailment wasn't issued on last Friday at the time that it was originally anticipated to come out. That was what State Water Board staff was proposing to move forward with. The State Water Board members at their public meeting several days before heard from the public, and actually one of the things, and you may have seen this in the press, the riparian water right holders in the Delta actually came up with a proposal to leave a portion of their water in stream, to not make use of that, but leave that in stream to help with water quality and fishery needs, and so that was accepted, embraced by the State Water Board, and actually may open the door for some other creative opportunities to do some voluntary type measures to help address the challenges without actually imposing a curtailment, which would be certainly preferable to us. I want to note on record, really appreciate the fact that the riparian water right holders in Delta offered that up. That was that's very important for everybody upstream and helps us. So that is very much appreciated. And again, we've got John Mills, our consultant, is very close to this. He attends all of the State Board meetings and has met with State Board staff and board members on this topic within the last few weeks, and again is very, very closely monitoring this. And I'm talking to him on a very regular basis because obviously anything that would happen in the way of curtailing pre-1914 is of great concern to us, as it would be for any other upstream water right holder with senior water rights. Let's see. I also wanted to let you know on the just on the ordinance to come back and change the board policy and compensation, the changes that were contemplated last time by the board. We had an agenda item on this and received direction to come back with an ordinance for the board to consider. And yes, Director Strange.
Yeah, I do have a question regarding the water rights of pre-1914, and I mean, my understanding is that in some of our watersheds, there's paper rights. It just, I guess to really identify what rights we have, and it's kind of a convoluted process and all. Are we, as a district, looking to really move in the direction of trying to secure or at least get questions answered as to what rights we may or may not have and things like that? Because I know on the McCullamy, for instance, that's one of the conversations that we've had off Bear Creek and some of our really important water supply systems. Mm-hmm. So,
thanks for asking that. That's actually is a really good question that allows me to introduce one of the things that we're working on that we'll have before the board. We anticipate having a workshop on our water rights for the board and public, and there's a lot of minutia to it, and obviously we could spend days, weeks on the subject, but we'll try to do it in a way that would be informative and useful for the board and also for the public. But we're looking to do that, I think, in July as a workshop with the board. And certainly the issue of our water rights, protecting the rights that we have, preserving those rights, particularly in the face of everything that's happened in the way of drought response to that and all of the regulatory things that have come from the State Water Board. It's critically important. It's one of the things that I heard when I came in last December was that preservation of our water rights and maximizing beneficial use of that were absolutely at the top of the list of things for us to focus on and to invest our time and energy in. And so it is a very high priority. There's some things that we have to do this year on our water rights. That'll be before the board as well. So I look forward to getting that back, coming back to you and providing that. We'll have our Water Law Counsel, Kevin O'Brien from Downey Brand, will be here to walk us through that discussion as well. And it'll be a primer, again, on generally our water rights, and then as well the context that we have to operate within the laws of California, some of the layers of complexity that affect us right now.
Good, thank you.
I think that's wonderful to hear, because I know we had been talking about water rights. I mean, water rights is primary.
Yes, yes, and we've already felt the effects of the curtailment on the post-1914. So all post-1914 water rights, as you know, have been curtailed on the San Joaquin River system, and that has affected us on Bear Creek and our White Pines Reservoir water right. So we know what the effects are, and again, it's a big move from post-1914 to go pre-1914, and that creates a host of other issues and challenges and questions and potential litigation and all that. So, and I think the state board members realize that that's a threshold that if they have another way to try to do something to keep water in the system, but avoid that entering into that domain, I think they realize that's in their best interest, and instead to work this out in a more deliberate process later this fall with more of an hearing process with more reliable evidence, and actually instead of trying to do this so quickly and as initially contemplated by staff.
Do you look for that the beginning or the latter part of July, or have you?
We haven't selected a date yet. I've got to check again with the availability of our water law counsel, but I would anticipate typically it would be second meeting would be a workshop, but again if we need to do it earlier because of the Kevin's availability, then we'll do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And lastly, I just want to note with the conservation requirements that came out of the state, and we had a lot of, obviously that was a big part of our board agenda the last couple of meetings, and imposing the new, reacting to the new requirements being imposed by the state. I just wanted to let the board know that we're still continuing to try to move to the next tier down. Right now, because of our water use calculated from 2013 during the period of time that you calculate, I believe that's July to or June to August or September, we would fall within a category of a 32% conservation requirement. The state board allowed water agencies to submit additional information to them to ask that their number be recalculated if they can find things that weren't included within their initial calculation. That's one thing that Joel and others are working on diligently right now to prepare that request to try to move into the next category, which would be a 28% conservation requirement. Still, it's a substantial increase from where we were at with a 20% call by the governor, but it's certainly would make a big difference for us, and the way that we're looking at that is a couple of things. We're allowed to counter system losses of water. So unaccounted for water, it's basically through. Just like we have with old infrastructure with the Reach 3A line, there's loss of water associated with that, where we have, it's a concrete lined steel pipe on the joints, there's some leakage and things like that. A large part of the reason why we're doing the project is to achieve that water conservation savings, but we're able to take that out of the numbers that we calculate for our end user gallons per day consumption. And that will help us, and some other factors will help us get to a point where we think we can get to the 28% level. But we have to submit that to the state and get that approved as well, and that's happening right now. We're working on that. And I realize it's getting, I'm trying to keep these meetings briefer because I really do want to be more responsive to the board. But I wanted to, lastly, I would like for Joel to come up and show us a little bit on the development of the new website. And I got to thank him and John Gomes and Robbie Kramer on our staff for really taking this on and doing making this happen in a really short amount of time. One of the things that we wanted to do with the implementation of Paymentus and that online, the ability to, to go online and to set up your automatic billing, that function, as well as the conservation effort and our ability to make that happen through public outreach and education, and for what I heard from the board and the desire to update the website, we went into it with the goal of having this done by June 1, so that we'd be on the same cycle as the requirements of the new conservation regulation. And they've done a fabulous job working with a consultant, New Design. I don't know, you may know New Works for Blue Lake Springs, actually, and she also has a website design company locally, and has done a really nice job working with staff. And Joel has managed this project and is going to show you what it looks like.
Well, I'm hoping to.
Yeah. Soon?
I'm not sure why we're not getting.
Oh, it's on this, no, actually, we only have one monitor up today. John Gomes is testing he's trying some new connections to try to eliminate that flashing that we've been having that's so annoying. So he's got it set up on one monitor right now, and if that's successful, then we'll go back to the 2-monitor setup.
Keep talking, Dave. We can accept a dance here if you want.
All right, well,
Yeah, we're out of PowerPoint, that's still displaying.
you know what, I tell you what, why don't we have this trail later in the meeting? We can come back to this. I'll ask John Gomes to help and make sure that we have it set up. Clearly, whatever he installed is not it's not exactly what we thought how it would perform, but I'll ask that we get John in here.
It's so weird.
No.
So if you want to go connect with John, and then we'll come back.
Well,
Thanks. All right, and we can
Thank you
just
for your report.
continue this later in the
We'll
meeting.
go on to new business. Yeah. Joel can't leave because and I think we have a problem there.
Oh, just kidding.
Good morning, Madam President and members of the board. We actually do have an issue. Our scholarship winner is missing in action this morning. And I did try to reach out to her this morning to see what's going on. Her family believes that she had a last minute school commitment. And I'm not sure if maybe she's just still on her way here and hasn't showed up yet. So I'm going to keep trying to get a hold of her, and hopefully we can get her in this morning so we can present her with her $500 scholarship. But in the interim, Dave, would you prefer to just hold that item in case she's able to make it and she's been delayed, or do you want me to go over the scholarship program just so the board is updated on that?
Yeah, that's fine. It's the choice of the board president. If you'd like to, we can delay this in case she does happen to arrive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, my apologies for if there was any kind of a miscommunication with me.
Okay. But now, Peter has gone out and
This is running smooth today.
Time to do that dance now. Yeah,
well, we're cutting down on time. That's what.
that's right.
No, all we're doing is adding things to the end.
5B, the direction to pursue membership in the Tuolumne-Stanislaus Integrated Regional Water Management Authority. And Mona has given us a handout.
I think we should get one of those ticket machines like they have at DMV. And if your ticket gets called and you don't show up, then
Okay.
you're out.
Our IT system works a little better, though.
DMV now.
Yes, and may I welcome Peter Martin, our Water Resources Manager. This is his first board meeting for a presentation, and so we're just really eager to hear.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, board members. Happy to be in front of you today. And it's been a really good experience getting to know all of you, and staff have been really accommodating and nice too. Hopefully that continues after the honeymoon's over. So I guess today we're going to start with a board item related to the Tuolumne-Stanislaus Integrated Regional Water Management Authority. I had a PowerPoint, and we're working on that too right now. So, basically, we've had some board members that have had kind of a long-term commitment to the TSTAN, or Tuolumne-Stanislaus Integrated Regional Water Management Program, through the Watershed Advisory Committee. And that Watershed Advisory Committee is basically sort of a technical resource that provides input to the Integrated Regional Water Management Authority. The Integrated Regional Water Management Authority is the regional water management group, and they are sort of recognized by the state with regards to the grant programs. So they're the ones that develop the Integrated Regional Water Management Plan for the Tuolumne-Stanislaus area, and also are responsible for the governance and also the submittal of applications for grants. With regards to those grants, the T-STAN, or Tuolumne-Stanislaus IRWM, covers portions of Calaveras County along the Highway 4 corridor. So of interest to us is those particular areas. There have been multiple rounds of grants that have come through Propositions 50 and 84, resulting in about $12 million of projects alone that just went to the Integrated Regional Water Management Authority members. Right now, there are 7 members in the Integrated Regional Water Management Authority. CCWD is not a member of that authority, but at times there have been questions of staff and others to pursue looking at joining that JPA. It is a joint powers authority, so there is some kind of nuanced things that need to go along with that. So today we're sort of asking your direction on whether or not you're interested in pursuing membership in the JPA or the T-STAN IRWMA. With that, I can take any questions. Feel free to have some discussion. Oh, also, I should have mentioned that in the board packet, you can see the 2015-2016 budget and work plan for the T-STAN IRWMA. Right now, the membership dues are $9,961.
We don't have that.
I think it's
in there.
It's in your board.
I'm sorry.
packet.
Well, I have a question. We got I guess this was your PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Okay. If I recall, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the reason we chose to not be involved in this was the general makeup of the voting block and who was the entities. And it says here there's 7 regional entities that are now, are those paying members, and who are they?
Yeah, yes, that's correct. Right now, you're right. So and historically, there have been issues with the T-STAN that caused CCWD to be frustrated and kind of walk away from it all. However, there were some certain members of the T-STAN that kind of were, I don't know what the term is I'm looking for, but difficult. And they it was based upon a consensus voting historically. And so that meant that if one member wasn't unhappy, then they could basically kick out any type of grant application that was.
Well, okay, so I see it's the Rancheria, Miwoks, City of Angels, Tuolumne County, Groveland Community Service District, Murphy Sanitary, Tuolumne Utilities, Twain Hart Community Services District. But there are other entities, aren't there, that aren't paying members?
Yes, so there is the Watershed Advisory Committee, which is the WAC. We're commonly referred to as the WAC. They have $100 per year membership dues, but they're limited in their total contribution to the governance of the IRWM. That really resides with the IRWM Authority Board of Directors, which is what we're looking at pursuing in membership in. They're the ones that have the final say in things like policy. They're the ones that implement the plan, the IRWM plan for the T-STAN region. Also, they're the ones that select final projects that go to DWR for submittal for grants. So
And they're made up of who?
that's the paying members of the JPA.
Okay.
Yes, so Director Davidson, to that point, so that this is a traditional model for IRWM efforts and having a JPA that serves as the governing entity. So we need final decision on updating the IRWM plan for the T-STAN or submitting projects, accepting projects to submit for grant funding like would happen with the Prop 1 coming up. That's done by the ultimate decision on that is made by the JPA board. The advisory committee, the WAC, the Water Advisory Committee, which is common to these kind of groups, provides and this is, you're required to have broad stakeholder involvement in this kind of effort, and so that allows them to have some participation in developing projects and plan updates, but they don't have the ultimate decision on whether those are adopted. That would be by the JPA board, and And again, that's a traditional model, and this would be one that it would operate similar to other JPAs.
Now, the WAC is a group made up of what organizations?
There's all kinds of
Could be
organizations.
Well,
NGOs
just
are gonna
give me
be-
5 of them, I mean,
CSERC, Tuolumne River Trust, the county of.
so they're basically the environmental groups.
Well, no,
CCWD is part of it.
I wouldn't
other
call
water
it County of Tuolumne Environmental.
Well, County of Tuolame's a paying member.
Ah, okay.
Well, actually, you can be on both the WAC and the JPA, so there are a lot of entities that are on both.
And that's what we would propose, because you want to maintain your influence. I mean, if you're not involved with the WAC, then you're not going to be involved in the development of the plan or the projects that get presented to the JPA for consideration. So you want to play in both arenas. What I would contemplate, and similar to other IRWM efforts I've been a part of, staff would be involved. Right now, the board is participating through the WAC. That would probably be more effective if we did that at a staff level. So we could be doing the minutia of developing the stuff for consideration by the JPA, and then our board members would sit as appointed to the JPA board, again, with other government entities, and then you would get to make decisions on what is recommended. But if the JPA doesn't like what comes out of the WAC, the JPA can say, this is not, we won't support this. So you're not giving up your right to making decisions to those who are not a part of the JPA.
To give a little historic perspective to this, we used to be on a JPA, I mean, not more than three years ago or so. The governance of this whole board of the T-stand is another thing that's made a huge change to develop the WAC on one side and the JPA on the other, as opposed to the other way they used to do this is everyone was had the same level of authority. And you go around the room, and if everybody didn't stand down and allow the project to go forward, if one person spoke out, it would nullify the entire project. And that's when we stepped away from the T-stand, that was the governance that was in place, and it was.
Yeah, that's kind
impossible.
of what I'm trying to get at. I thought that.
So that's why
I don't wanna be a
that's
part
another
of
reason
it.
why we stepped away back then. And I think it's with the Prop 1 money that's available now, in addition to the governance having changed, it makes total sense for us to get back involved in this thing. And I think that's what Director Strange and Underhill have seen since going to these meetings, and I do approve.
When did the governance?
That was a couple of years ago when the governance changed, and at that time we were I think we're still part of the WAC, the WAC, but we're not part of the JPA. And there's a lot of other groups could become. Calaveras County could be a part of this JPA if they chose. And they got out of the whole thing 2 or 3 years before we did, and saw the same thing with the problem with the governance.
Jeff, there's the RCD, there's a couple of communities that are running out of water in the Don Pedro area that are on the advisory committee group, Jeff. So it isn't, and I understand your concern of it being stacked with environmental groups. It's not that. I don't feel like it's that way, and I've gone to
Well,
4 or 5.
but that's my point. Was it was. That's why we
Yeah.
declined to be, because we couldn't. There was no project that we could get through there. I mean,
Yeah, I think they've changed the governance mainly that it was consensus based, so that everybody had to be on board before anything could go forward. That is not the case anymore. So that was a big game
It's
changer.
impossible to get
Yeah.
things going.
And just to note, so if we have a project, say for example up at Vallecito that we want to do and we want to run it through this program because this may be the only, in some of the Prop 1 funds, the only avenue that you can gain access to them is through an RWM effort. So you have to play in this arena to apply for those funds. If we had a great project that we really wanted to put as the top of our list to push through, right now we would be working through the WAC to develop that project, and we could make a lot of, I mean, we may come out with a strong recommendation for this, but when the decision is made on whether that project is going to be accepted into the bundle that the T-stand will submit to DWR for funding, we wouldn't be at the table. And so that puts us at a disadvantage, potentially having, and we've got, and they're great agencies, great partners that we'd be working with, but the reality is, we wouldn't be there to be able to speak on behalf of that as a member of the JPA board. This gives us more influence in that process, and helps us position the future of the T-stand as well. Helps us, provide that direction from the governance level as far as what are the priorities going to be going forward.
And I think that there was one more comment. In addition to the water bond money being available and the governance having changed in the T-stand, also our relationship with many of the other partners has also changed. It makes total sense to get involved in this now.
I'm concerned about submission of projects to IWR or, what are we saying? Do we have projects, or is it gonna be a matter of development before we can realize any of those things? Because from what I hear, Prop 1 is ready to go now.
It had, the solicitation hasn't come out yet. They'll issue a draft solicitation, DWR will, as well as the other agencies at the state that have, there are a bunch of them that have pots of money under Prop 1 that they're going to be administering. Some of those have moved forward, but into much smaller amount, but the larger funded projects or solicitations for grants haven't moved forward yet. DWR's, I believe, is not going to happen until next year. So there's time for, this is a good time for us to get involved, really establish ourselves. We've already done that in the WAC, but really to reconnect and have that, be part of the leadership of the governance body. And part of, what that body's going to be doing is looking at all of the different pots available under Prop 1, over $7 billion, and where can we as a region find access to funding for our projects. And it's probably going to be more than just the DWR pot. There are a bunch of different areas that we could go after. And right now is really a critical time to identify those, and I know that effort's underway. Mountain Counties is doing that as well. And we actually had a meeting, Mountain Counties and T-Stand staff, to talk about this very subject. But again, if we really want to help guide that, we being at the JPA governance level is going to help us.
We need to be there, right?
Yeah, I agree with Bertha's comment, and I feel as though we have a long way to go to identify projects and really bring them to the point that we can go after grant money, or really have a project that would withstand the filtering process, not only on the T-stand, but also even in the McCullamy and some of the other areas, even, the Calaveras type stuff. And I think that's really, the onus is on staff to find time to really start looking at some funding opportunities in Prop 1 that are going to be available, and how we can maybe shift our priority because of that free money in the IRWM process to really have viable projects. And I'm just concerned of spending $13,000 if we're not getting an advantage from that, because we haven't moved to the point of really identifying some projects that would benefit greatly by that participation, ultimately our chances to get grant money.
And I can tell you right now, Director James, there are a couple of projects we're looking at right now within the T-Stand IRWM, for example, that would help us. One of which they've already received funding, I think $3 million for conservation efforts in the region. That's one that we want to try to gain access to help advance our efforts that we're underway right now, trying to meet our regulatory requirements. The other one is with the plant of Vallecito and the funds that were already awarded under Prop 84 to move forward with a storage project on recycled water. That some of the things that came out of that have made it more complicated and a little bit beyond the scope of what we'd anticipated. But again, there's available funding there that we're looking with other partners, other agencies in the region to try to reconfigure that, but in a way that we could again advance maximizing the beneficial use of our recycled water out of that plant. So there are some things right now, and the balance is going to be given the staff and our availability. In trying to match this with what we have in the R&R plan, and trying to advance that, and if there's anything we can do to advance those projects through RWM, we definitely should try to do that. But again, there could be new things that arise that we're not even on our radar right now. But because what's offered up under Prop 1, there may be an opportunity to do a project that has been thought about but isn't currently on our list. And if we see those things, and we'll be looking for those, we will come to the board and we will ask. We'll definitely get direction that. This is important. This is something we should be prioritizing, and we should. I know the money. It's great. It's attractive. It's extremely helpful. I wouldn't characterize it as free, because I think it's important to remember that anything we get, even in 100% grant funding, there's a lot of effort and time and expenditure in that way that we have to make to go after it. So, but again, I want to maximize that, and we'll bring those things to the board. And it's on us. If we sit back and we don't work to try to get our projects funded and advance our efforts through the RWM, then why would you bother to invest in being part of the JPA?
Did we have to? My understanding is we had to decline that money that we would have received for the Vallecito, because we couldn't put it to use in enhancing the storage there on site. Now, If that's not the case, then correct me.
We're exploring how we could reconfigure that project and potentially in a way with other agencies in the region that we could still do something to advance our beneficial. I mean, the point of that project is to maximize beneficial use of a terrific resource in the recycled water there. In particular, if we could find other, the ability to deliver that, for example, to ag customers within the area, then that's something we want to try to make happen. That project, as awarded, became the scope changed somewhat given the process that it went through, and it now has become a little different than what we had initially contemplated. And so it may not be the best project for us in the current form, but again, we want to try to, if there's an opportunity that we can still use these funds and potentially with a partnership with other agencies and kind of along the lines of the things we talk about in Highway 4 Committee, then we want to do that.
I have a question, Terry. You mentioned a $13,000 investment. I thought it looked like it was $9,000 as far as $9,600.
You're right, and I was thinking camera. I'm sorry, that was the number that I had. That's up next.
I'm asking for too much money today.
Yes, 9.
So now you don't have to comment on camera.
There you go.
And the other question I had was the way this budget is written up, it looks like there's a $9,900 fee to each of these agencies to come up with their budget, which matches their expenses. If they add a member to this JPA,
Reduced.
is the total amount redistributed?
Yeah, that's correct, Director Rademan. I have heard, not officially, that there is one member that may not be interested in continuing, so there's possibility. That's why I presented it with that amount today.
Okay.
Additionally, I wanted to speak to the Vallecito project. I have confirmation with our city staff that we can change the scope of that project at this point, and I am working with staff to sort of revisit that because they don't want to give that money back that they awarded for the Vallecito project. So I anticipate fully that we'll be able to amend the contract with DWR at some time and present a project that works better for everyone here at CCWD and in the region. So,
How much money are we talking about?
this is a $600,000 grant right now.
Are we looking for a motion on this item?
Well, I just have a couple more comments, or one more comment. I did hear that Murphy Sanitary, for example, was successful in acquiring grant money through the IRWM.
Yeah, I believe that's correct. We have somebody from Murphy Sanitary here too, if you want, to speak to that at some point after you decide what you want to do on your motion.
Let's get a motion.
No, it's an interesting group. I participated, as I mentioned, and it's like no project really is refused. What they do is they rate them, but it's totally different than the old way that they used to do business, apparently consensus. And there's a lot of people out there. We continue to hear from the RCD that manages the grant and all that the state really favors the T-Stand group and its members and its the diversity of interests and all with that in the process and just a lot of different examples of success with that group. So I think that they'll continue to receive favorable funding. I don't know if preference is the right term in the future. And if we can really sit down and kind of brainstorm and plan for our watersheds over there, I think we have a lot of benefit that could come from this.
Yeah. Excuse me, just one more thing. We attended a Mountain Counties meeting, what was that, about 6 months ago, where they talked about the collaboration and the value of the IWRMs.
Yes, and to follow up on that, President Underhill, we actually, John Kingsbury, Executive Director of Mountain Counties, and I, and some other board members and staff actually sat down at the RCD office in Tuolumne in Sonoma with the staff that actually support the T-Stand RWM, and we were really looking at it from the perspective. And John Kingsbury really wanted to look at it from the perspective of Mountain Counties, which covers a number of different RWM efforts, and how, particularly with all the funding coming forward under Prop 1, how best can we be working together collectively across the region, if there are opportunities to do that, to maximize our access to those funds and get our projects funded under that bond. And one of the things, what I was most impressed with was the quality of the staff and the RCD staff. and others who support that effort that were there. I mean, they do, I mean, they've got a track record of success. They're very efficient at what they do. They keep the cost down. It's a very cost-effective way to do it, having them provide the staffing for the effort. And their grant applications have proven to be very successful. They do quality work. And so, having seen a number of different RWMs and how a lot of them spend an awful lot of money on consultants to prepare their applications for grants, I was really impressed. This to me looked like a really solid effort right now, and one that would be, that we would feel like our contribution would be leveraged as efficiently and as effectively as we could. And we're not, paying unnecessarily for a whole team of consultants that we're not sure exactly why we're doing that.
It's a really good point. It's the RCD that's setting it up, not consultants.
And that is one additional item that was not present in the past when we were a member. It was a high-priced consultant running the show at that time. I'd like to move forward with a motion to direct staff to formally pursue membership in the T-stand.
A second?
Second? Discussion.
Good morning. My name is Joe Fontana. I wear a few different hats in life. I'm the president of the Murphy Sanitary District. I'm an alternate on the WAC for T-stand, and I'm also the treasurer for the T-stand JPA. Some things that are, I was in part of the formation of the JPA initially. That was about 10 months ago. Prior to that time, there was a kind of a cowboy mentality to the way the WAC was being run. There's some very forceful people on the WAC, and they presented arguments. And I know of one project that was stopped dead in its tracks because of preconceived notions about what was correct for the area. Now we have a formal process where any of the entities can propose a project, and you alluded to it earlier, and that is 100% correct. However, just like this Friday, we are having a evaluation of projects for the last bit of I think there's $9 million roughly for the WACs to spend. We're going to apply, but it has to meet the criteria. So we're going to judge the projects that are being proposed. There's, I believe, 5 different projects. If they don't meet the criteria, we will not apply for the money. We do our own grant writing. That was also brought up. It's a very efficient process. Right now, our budget for next year is a little under $70 million. If you folks join the JPA, it'll reduce the cost, providing that nobody else drops out. I've heard this rumor also, but nobody will fess up who's thinking about dropping out. It would help Murphy Sanitary. We're one of the smallest, along with Groveland, in the JPA. So please vote for it. I think you'll have a very positive time there. I think we can jointly develop some projects in joint with all the different entities along the Highway 4 corridor. We're looking forward to that opportunity. Thank you very much. Yes.
Membership in the WAC?
Well,
Membership in the WAC?
Well, no, the JPA.
Oh, okay, but
I'm sorry, did I say WAC? I'm sorry. Sometimes my acronyms mixed up. The JPA is the decision-making body that approves the projects to try to get funding for them.
Okay, but excuse me, I understood that we had a group of lesser, or, the people who would submit ideas, and they would come out of the WAC.
The WAC is the, if you will, the representatives to all the different entities in the T-stand. They will bring a project. Sometimes it's just for funds to, I know there's some projects under Prop 38 that are being sought for planning. You're not going to get it. They're going to only get stuff that's going to develop water for the drought under Prop 38.
And Joe, if I understand right, is everyone that's in the JPA, they're also in the WAC?
Yes.
And then how many agencies, NGOs, these ones that are in the, how many are in the WAC? About? I mean,
Oh, I'm going to guess somewhere in between 20 and 25.
okay. And then, do as treasurer, do you guarantee a return on our investment for this?
As treasurer, I'm very fiscally conservative. I don't believe in spending money needlessly. And one of the things that I made a pitch for is that we need to make sure that when we go out, we need to meet the requirements of the solicitation. We had a meeting a little over a month ago regarding Groveland. They had a wonderful project. They didn't meet the criteria. It should have never been included in the solicitation for funds because there's an audit requirement they did not meet. There's some other issues that they added to the project after it was funded. So they came up with the project's would have had to come up with a 45% matching fund. So we had to drop them out of the fund, or the fundings for these projects. And that was done by the JPA. Some of the people in the WAC were very upset because we didn't ask them first. We only had 3 days to make the decision. Not enough time to get the WAC involved. Any other questions? Thanks very much. I hope you vote in the affirmative.
Thank you.
Peter Rich, gentlemen. First of all, I have a question, so I don't get all these wonderful agencies messed up. Wasn't the Water District contributed $13,000, the Board of Supervisors $13,000, and Murphy's $800 and some dollars over by Water District, Ptolemy County Water District? That's the difference?
Excuse me, yeah.
Another thing I would recommend, it's all nice thoughts, and I appreciate it. And I'm all for cooperating with all water districts and so on. But one of the directors brought up, a non-profit stakeholder gets for $100, gets to sit at the table. How many of these non-profit stakeholders for $100 sit at the table? And because one of the problems I had with one of these joint powers authority is when they were talking about qualification to be considered for a grant, at the very bottom there was a little thing about what's the federal requirements to meet the federal water requirements. There was local, state, and federal requirements. And after I distributed the paper to folks, it ended up being 127 people signing the letter advising the person who was in charge who and what was going to be considered. He suggested what he can do with it. And nothing become of it for some reason. I'm sure your staff is very busy. They're not exactly the cheapest group in the world. I would suggest maybe you can take a look at your budget. How much it's going to cost you and how much you're going to be guaranteed to get back. This is not a casino. You're putting out some big money over here. And I got the impression that you're very iffy about the money. You don't have that much extra money that, hey, maybe we can get something. So consider the money end of it too. And what is guaranteed and stated you're going to get. Not having a fantasy that you might get it, or you could get it. Does any place say that, hey, you're going to get it? Because the only money you're going to put out is for administration right now, folks. Thank you. I'm talking from a taxpayer, person view. Your intention are honorable. Congratulations. Do you have the extra bucks that you don't know what to do with? On a maybe? Thank you.
Do I have any other public comment? Okay. Seeing none. Call the roll.
Director Strange.
Yes.
Director Mills.
Yes.
Director Ratterman.
Yes.
Director Davidson.
Yes.
And President Underhill.
Yes.
5-0.
5-0.
Madam President, before we go to the next agenda item, since we have our John Gomes here for IT. I'd like to, if you will indulge us, to be able to go back and show you the website at this point. And we can, I know he's got some things that he needs to leave for.
Certainly.
Madam President, members of the board, I just wanted to give you a preview of the website, which is going to be launching on Friday. This has been about a month of really hard work, and I want to give a lot of credit to Robert Kramer and John Gomes for working with me to really put together a comprehensive reproduction and addition to our current site that is more user-friendly, has more information, has more visual components, and we're hoping is going to be a real joy to work with for our customer base. We've integrated things like social media, local news stories, all kinds of more visual components, along with a much more easy-to-use system to pay your bill and interact with all of the features that we offer at CCWD. The final component of this website is going to be the integration of Paymentus. We're expecting to integrate that new payment processing software within the next couple of months, probably by July 1st, if everything goes according to plan. And so that Pay My Bill that you can see there, or Access Your CCW account, will go to the Paymentus software, which will expand our suite of options significantly more than they already are. I also wanted to show you that we've kind of tried to expand every section of the site. So for example, with the directors, which is you guys, we'll see if we can get this to load. We now have picture of everyone. We're going to be adding biographies of everyone, and I appreciate those of you who have gotten me the biography. We hope to finish those up for anyone who hasn't gotten those back.
My agent hasn't got back to you?
No, not yet. And we also have the board agendas with videos easily accessible, very, very well linked into that, and so people can access the agenda, the board packet, and the video all in one easy place. The calendar is also integrated into the entire site, and so you can go and see when the board meetings are, as well as other community meetings related to us, and you can go right to the board agenda packets for those, and you can add it right to your smartphone as well from our website. We're adding, yes?
How specific is your calendar going to be? Committee meetings and regular meetings and?
We will have anything CCWD related will be on there. And anything that we feel is appropriate that is maybe a little bit beyond our direct meetings will be on there as well if it's water related. And we'll probably be feeling out exactly how much we want to add, but we want to focus on CCWD meetings for sure at this point. And so I am incredibly excited about what we've been able to accomplish in a short time. I also wanted to thank New Bergstrom, who is the web designer, for putting an incredible amount of time into this and working with us to make hundreds of changes over the last weeks. We are transferring it over to our servers actually yesterday and today, and we're going into a test and training period. And one other exciting thing is instead of having one or two people have the ability to update this website and make changes, this new platform, which is WordPress, will allow a much more expanded number of people to go in and control their own site. And so people like HR or Mona or myself can actually go and make posts immediately, which will get the information to the customer much more quickly. So I encourage you on Friday to take a look at this site, and I would love to hear any feedback any of you have, if you see anything. But again, staff has really worked hard to put a lot of thought into this, and we'll continue refining it as we move along. I think it's going to be a huge asset to the district as we move into the future. And I won't go into too much more detail now because I know we need to move along with the meeting.
White stuff on the hills.
Where's Calaveras Conserves on the site?
Calaveras Conserves is under the conservation section, and it will link directly there. So of course we're featuring our mandatory watering restrictions. I'm having a little trouble seeing it. So right here, you can click on that button and it will take you to that logo will take you to the entire Calaveras Conserve site. And this is a scroll of all kinds of other resources that are state and local. for conservation. And of course, we're pointing out our rebates, our free conservation supplies, and then all of the indoor and outdoor tips that we have, along with posting the full ordinance, the enforcement measures, and the watering restrictions that you just passed a couple weeks ago.
Can you scroll back a little, because you said, what does 20% reduction mean? Because that, I think that's really meaningful, because we're going to have to conserve.
So these are put together by Aqua, by Save Our Water, and we're shooting for higher than 20%.
Right.
These are still good resources that were put together by Aqua. We're trying to use as much of the state content as we can in order to save our own staff time. But I imagine with these new restrictions, we'll be seeing expanded guides like this, which are talking about higher conservation standards. Because 20% is really kind of outdated for many districts at this point.
Because as I say, you know, the little person in White Pines says 28%. What does that mean?
Right.
You're thinking about having that.
Thank you.
Does the board have any other questions at this time?
Oh, good job, looks great.
That's great.
Okay.
Make
Thank you.
sense, really.
Good job, John. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. And Josh. And Robbie.
And if you don't get your bios in, we'll just take liberties. And
Okay.
Very interesting past and a career in Hollywood.
Make stuff up.
Does that
I could probably
include,
use a little help.
does that include, would that include mustaches on pictures and things like that?
You want it after we do it, yeah. Thanks, sir.
Okay. 5C, discussion action regarding reinstatement of annual dues to the Calaveras Amador McCollum River Authority and Mr. Peter Martin again.
Terry, you were at, Terry, you were at this camera meeting, and
This is in relation to this. Mona, you were there also. Are we sure this was 75,000, not 50?
75.
Okay.
Yeah.
Proceed. Okay.
All right. Good morning, Madam Chair, board members again. So today I'm bringing an item to you related to our ongoing commitments to CAMRA, California Amador McCollum River Authority. It's a joint powers authority established in 1997. It's the Amador and Calaveras County entities that are interested in the McCollum River water supply. The authority sort of provides an institutional vehicle to the counties on local water-related issues as they relate specifically to the McCollum River.
And just included within that, of course, is water rights. It's one of the key focus areas of the camera, working camera.
The mission, yeah.
So just to give you a little background to where CAMRA has been recently, at the March 18th CAMRA board, there was a lot of discussion about ongoing work with CAMRA and a discussion about reinstating dues, which had not been collected for several years, sort of due to a lack of perceived need. There just really wasn't much work going on associated with that. But however, things have changed recently, and there's been an anticipated need for the protection of county of origin or area of origin water rights associated with some of the recent legislation. There's a concern that maybe there should be some funding that should be expended to protect those water rights in the future. So the CAMRA board agreed to come back in May, which was just the meeting last week, and produce a proposal for a budget and reinstatement of those dues. What you have as part of your board packet is the memo to CAMRA, kind of outlining the cost breakdown associated with that. There is a carryover of money from the previous dues collected, so it's not for the total amount of $75,000. It's minus that $17,000. And it would be funding a total budget of $75,000. So basically, based upon the cost-sharing agreement or proposal that's outlined in that memo, CCWD's commitment would be $13,854, or 24% of the total amongst all the participating entities. So as a result of that May board meeting action, all the respective members of Camera need to go to their boards and ask for two things. One, whether or not they accept the reinstatement of those dues, and also accept the budget and the amount of those dues for fiscal years 15 and 16. It should be noted that this is just a one-time budgetary expense. They are not asking for this to be the annual dues in perpetuity. So should they collect dues in the future, they would come back again. We would come before the board again and ask for that type of action again.
Peter, I have a question. And I brought this up before with other issues regarding the McCollum, and that is that the percentage breakdown that is given here for the JPA, it really doesn't have any relationship to the risk exposure by the individual agencies. So how did this percentage come to be, and how does that relate to the amount of water that we have available, that we use versus, say, for instance, Amador water, and how much, their 95% use and availability, et cetera. They've got the greater risk in this game on the McCollum versus us. So it just is a question that I would have. And I have a second question to follow up on that, and that would be, should others in this group not decide to fund, we're going to be needing more than the number that you're giving today. Is that correct?
That was not addressed at that meeting. So actually, I'm going reverse order, sorry. But yes, that is a possibility based upon what the proposal is. But I'm not sure.
Just to be clear, though, we're not asking for that today, and that would require initial action of this board. So by approving, if you do decide to approve this, it's not going to be open-ended, allowing this to change with however many members participate. All we're asking is for this amount as specified today.
Initially.
Yeah.
And to your first point, I'm new here, so I don't know the history, but it is not tied to anything associated with particular benefit from the McCollum, obviously. But this is something that was a proposal that was brought forth by one of the Camera members at the request of the Camera board, and so this is what came out of that. So,
Larry, do you know, wasn't this related to water reservation or water rights on the river? Was that how this was originally?
I couldn't tell you, but it doesn't appear to reflect the degree of use. It doesn't seem to be in proportion to that criteria. I don't know what the original basis was.
And it goes back to the UMRA. What they're using, as Director Mills had stated, is 24% cost share. It goes back to, and correct me, Dave or Peter if I'm wrong, but it goes back to the UMRA, the Upper McCollum River Watershed Authority division, that included East Bay Mud as the primary financial donors, so to speak. But on the Camera, it takes the East Bay Mud contribution out because they're not part of that. And so it separates 50% Amador County and 50% Calaveras County. And of Calaveras County's 50%, we're paying essentially half of that. And that's a concern that I would like to have, or that's a concern that I have, that I think the board, it would be good to discuss maybe to a further degree, is that, as Larry mentioned, we pay half of Calaveras counties, and yet unlike CPUD, for instance, that gets 90+% of their water from the McCollum, we not only receive a relatively small percent of our water out of the McCollum, but we also run out of water. So we have a water reliability issue, and we have to purchase water from CPUD. So I really feel as though we need to step up as an agency and start taking advantage of the water rights that we have out there to at least meet our demand within that system. And this isn't new. I've made this statement before. It all maybe this water rights process that we'll be going through can identify and shake out what we have on paper, Forest Creek rights, if we really have them or not, and just to solidify all this so that we really know where our next step is. And Larry, you've been involved with this for a long time and understand the challenges with water rights on that system. But I feel like it's time to really nail that down. good, bad, whatever it ends up, let's just see what we have. Let's see what's realistic and moving forward to secure whatever rights that we have, so that then we can most effectively manage the water. But when I'm looking at this, I'm saying we're paying half of all of Calaveras County's donations to this system, and yet.
Well, right, but I think that comes back to I can't recall it, but I think the reason that we have that disparity is we have a 19,000 acre foot reservation on the river. It seemed that it was divided by, and CPUD has a lesser amount, although they use more of their water. I think that's how it was broken down back in its inception. But I can't, I mean, how long has Camera been around? It was before Aqua, wasn't it? I mean, not Aqua, before Upper McCulmy Watershed Authority.
Approximately 1992, 93.
Yeah.
But this isn't Camera's division Camera's trying to use UMRA's, trying to figure out a way to bill each of the agencies.
Well, I know, but I think that carried over. I mean, I think it went, I mean, there isn't, I mean,
but the question starts with UMRA, why did UMRA decide this way?
And I'm trying to tell you guys, they decided it because there's a difference of available water and on the McCulmy River, and it may not be important to this conversation today, but we probably should get to the bottom of that and find out why. I mean, I was there when UMRA formed, but again, that was 15 years ago. So.
No, I agree. And if we have the area of origin water rights, if we have them, great. But there's a lot of questions whether we have that much, or what percentage of it that we really have or could get to or could claim.
All right. Well, I make a motion that we approve minute entry in the amount of $13,854 for 2015-16 member dues for Calaveras Emerald McCulmy River Authority.
I would second that.
I just have a statement. If I remember correctly, Cameron always had this $17,000 or $13,000. They had it for years and years, a carryover, and nobody had to pay into it. And then now, because they should have thought ahead. They should have thought ahead about.
Well, I mean, 2 years ago, I would have told you we shouldn't be involved in camera because they weren't doing anything. Now, because of the wild and scenic, I mean, let's be honest about why this is important. It's because people are making us defend that right. So I mean, that's what it's about.
And there were a number of years where Camera didn't charge membership dues because they had more money than they knew what to do, and
They weren't,
now that they're paying, as you mentioned, Amador water for attorneys and everything else, and in the wild and scenic, they feel like they need that budget of approximately $75,000.
And they're not saying no other funds after the $75,000. Did I hear that?
Correct. It was decided that that Camera wasn't, as an agency, going to bill each of its members going forward because of the unknown, and they didn't want to have what happened in the past, where membership dues were added every single year, the pot built up, weren't spending it on anything. They didn't want that same thing to happen. So that's why it's going to be a one-time deal, because we've got something going on this year similar to what we had last year. We don't want to fund it in arrears like we did last year. And so this is a way of funding Camera to help with the legal lobbyist bills that are going forward on wild and scenic discussions.
I have a motion and I have a second.
Yes.
Public comment?
Madam President, if I just note that we'll come back at the next board meeting with information on how this cost breakdown, this formula was derived. And I know it's using the UMRA formula, but how was that derived? We'll have that information for you at the next meeting.
Okay. Thank you. Mona, call the roll.
Director Strange?
Yes.
Director Mills?
Yes.
Director Ratterman?
Yes.
Director Davidson?
Yes.
And President Underhill.
Yes. Okay, we'd like to step back a little in our agenda. And for item 5A, I have the introduction of annual high school senior scholarship award winners. Joel Metzger.
Good morning again, Madam President, members of the board. I wanted to give you a brief overview of this program, and then I'll bring Amelia up to read her essay for you. So this began in 2012. The board agreed to give 2 $500 scholarships to high school seniors in Calaveras County. And so we have 3 schools who submit essays. We have Bret Harte High, Calaveras High, and Mountain Oaks Charter School. And this is to promote water education and get young people thinking about and writing about water and water resources, the value of water, and specifically with this last essay prompt, talking about water conservation and the drought and the impacts locally and in the state. And so it was really wonderful to get more than 40 essays come in from these 3 schools.
Wow.
And work with a committee that included Peter and Charles Palmer, and read through all of these wonderful essays and just see, a lot of thought went into these essays, and a lot of research was done. And so I know that this had a really positive impact on the community. And it was really difficult to narrow it down to the top 2 because there were many very deserving candidates. And so I want to really thank the committee members who took the time to make this a thoughtful and meaningful decision. And so we do have 2 $500 recipients. And I wanted to let you know a little bit about them. Before we get to Amelia, who is here, we also have Elizabeth Ann Ernst. She actually is a Mountain Oaks student, and she's going to be attending Columbia College in the fall. Her essay is attached, so she won't be here to read it today, but I hope that you do have a chance to look that over. And Director Ratterman, you haven't presented that to her yet, have you?
No, I presented it last week.
You did, okay.
Last,
So we have given her that at the
right.
awards ceremony. And then Director Mills presented the scholarship to Amelia at Bret Harte's scholarship ceremony. And so both of these young women did an excellent job, put together fantastic essays, and we're very proud to be awarding them the $500 today. I'd like to bring Amelia up. She had an unexpected delay this morning. We're very happy that she was able to make it. She is going to be attending UC Santa Cruz and studying environmental science this fall, and I know she's very excited about that. And so she is here to read her essay, and then afterwards feel free to have any conversation or questions with her. So Amelia, welcome and congratulations.
Hi, thanks for having me here.
Morning.
Good morning.
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 Just read my essay. Okay. Rivers and streams are the veins and arteries of our lands, and without the water that runs through them, life on our planet would quickly perish. The quality of our water and the quality of life are directly connected. Over 3 billion people worldwide lack clean or properly sanitized drinking water, and this dearth is the world's largest cause of illness. Not only the health of our own species, but all the other species of flora and fauna depend upon a safe water supply. Our economy also depends upon a clean, useful supply of water, especially the part of the economy revolving around agriculture. As water is used for many products on the market, the availability of water determines how and where businesses can thrive. However, the drought that has been taking hold of California for the past few years has proven that the availability of water is rarely stable. As the aquifers are being sucked dry, the surface runoff is slowing, and the snowpack is disappearing, we witness the water table drastically decreasing. Given that only 0.024% of the water on Earth is available for use, species worldwide are threatened by the recent lack of precipitation and the careless water usage caused by humans. In Calaveras County, our decrease in water supply is very significant, especially regarding how it affects our lives on a local level. Except for their monthly bill from the Water District Office, most citizens in our county have hardly thought about the level of their water supply. This trend seems to be changing, however, as the drought has brought this scarcity to light. The state of California has been in a drought for 3 years, and the state's water deficit is close to 11 trillion gallons. These effects are clearly seen in the Sierra Nevada. The water levels in our reservoirs have decreased drastically. The water level of the New Melones Reservoir has dropped so low that the old snags at the bottom of the lake are emerging. There is controversy over the possible drainage of the Lake Tolek Reservoir between environmentalists and business. People who rely on the lake for recreational purposes are arguing against scientists who discover that it is essential for the fish in the lower Stanislaus River to have the water continuously flowing. The amount of accessible water also affects where and how homes are built and whether or not there is fire protection for these dwellings. During drought years, fire danger increases as water supplies decrease, endangering homes and the environment. Calaveras County has spent millions of dollars to maintain hydrants and pump stations in fire-prone areas such as Dorrington. This has been especially important after seeing the effects of the Rim Fire in 2013, which decimated 260,000 acres. Another aspect of the foothills is that many homeowners in the county depend upon private wells as a water source. However, as the amount of groundwater is decreasing, many people are growing concerned and are preparing to dig these wells deeper for water in the near future. Luckily, people have become more aware of the issues caused by a lack of water, and they have began to create changes in their routine to help solve the problem. People have become more conscientious when it comes to how much water they are using while washing dishes or clothes or taking showers. As of July 2014, water customers were asked by the local water district to reduce water consumption by 20%, and methods for conserving water have been published locally. Some simple methods that can be taken into account in order to conserve water are to pour leftover water from a water bottle into the garden instead of down the drain, plant plants that do not require a lot of water, and take short showers. Overall, the recent drought has raised awareness for water conservation in the county. It has opened the eyes of many people who did not realize the importance of saving water and taught them ways in which they can conserve one of our most precious natural resources. Small changes in people's behavior and daily routines have saved many gallons of water, and even bigger changes are still being made throughout the county to help solve this issue. Water is one of the most valuable aspects of our earth, and preserving its quality is essential for creating a healthy and sustainable environment for future generations.
Well, thank you, Amelia. How many times have you read your speech?
Oh, this is the first time.
Oh, great. You did a wonderful job. Thank you so much.
Great job, thank you.
We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Can we get a photo of all of the board members with her?
Sure.
Is that possible?
Why don't we bring everyone down so we can get close together then, and we'll have Amelia hold this up. Here you go. Congratulations.
Okay. I would like to have a comment real quick.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your well-thought essay, and there is a challenge to the younger people here, in especially California. Over the last 100 years, we have come to rely very heavily on the snowpack as our reservoir. And for your generation to maybe think of that in a different way and realize that the challenge ahead will be how do we deal with no snowpack? It will be for your generation to deal with, and probably not in our time we'll have the opportunity to do that. So I only challenge you to look at that as part of your training and your career going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Definitely. Like I've already started. I started the environmental club at Bret Harte High School, and I've already tried to just persuade as many people as I can to save water, and a lot of people have.
Senator, the board can come around you.
How we doing?
Looking
Close enough?
good. Bertha, can you move this way just a little bit more? There we go. 1, 2, 3, and one more here. 2 and 3, and then just hang tight with me. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're set. Thank you. Great job.
Perfect example where people have nothing to do with take all the credit.
Oh, yeah, at the event. Oh, great.
Let's get to work.
Did we lose one?
Hey, you snooze, you lose.
I might add, that I remember coming to the meeting, coming to a CCWD meeting after attending the scholarship program at the Bret Harte, and we merely handed out the CCWD scholarship. We didn't have anyone officially handing the scholarship, and I thought that was great for Dennis and for Scott to do it.
Well, I'm on that, you're on that topic, thank you. I would like to see whoever is handing out the scholarship, that whoever that winner is, from what area they're in, that director be the one to be offered to hand out the scholarship. She's from Murphy's. So,
Oh, yeah, no, I
Standpoint.
think, yeah. No, I think that's fine. That gets the prominence it should.
We did a lot of talking while you were gone.
What happened?
You've been appointed to several new positions.
All right. Item number 6, old business, we have none. Item 7, board reports, information, future agenda items. I'll go from my left.
Yeah, T-stand camera, it's been kind of a short, couple of weeks. I did get, reached out to the Lily Gap Water Agency or District or whatever it is up at the headwaters of Bear Creek in our watershed, and I will be attending a July board meeting to just kind of share information on the McCollum system and how we use it in the Bear Creek, and various stuff up there. So I just felt it was important to kind of reach out to them. They're 100% on wells, I believe. And so I'm looking forward to that sometime in July. I will miss the board meeting in late June. I will be out of the country in Ireland, hoping to catch a Loch Leven brown trout off my bucket list and Atlantic salmon. So
Sweet.
It's a family vacation though too.
Catch and release program, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yes, 100%.
Ireland is a very popular place these days. You're the 4th person I know going to Ireland this year.
My mother's family is a descendant of the area that we'll go visit. So, yeah.
Great. Director Mills.
I would like to see something on the board's agenda in the future for dealing with our will serve letters that are still out there. There's other districts are starting to look at this in relation to the drought and how it impacts them, and maybe to align them more with the county's timelines, so that as the county has, you've got so many years to complete a project, and at that point, it's just something to bring up. And also, just to let you know that it's spilling at Lake Alpine, so the water in the high country is there, but forecast modeling that's being used currently is creating a little bit of a challenge with how that looks, because they're looking at the full year rather than what if we suddenly get into an El Nino halfway through the year and the forecast is set for water use for the entire year, and how do you react to it? So that's a kind of a challenge, especially UWPA is facing with that Tier 6 water year. And then I've got a copy of all of the places that I've been in the last 2 weeks. There's one there for Dave as well.
I have nothing.
Just a couple things. Well, the June 24th board meeting, I will be on vacation. I have a timeshare. Won't be able to change that either. So we may want to consider possibly changing that meeting. I won't be able to make the June 24th meeting either. And secondly, I had made a recommendation that we create some sort of a meeting to address our properties that we own that we're not necessarily under use, and would like to see coming up in a future agenda item, maybe before the summer's over, the creation of a committee.
Like surplus property?
To address surplus property.
What about, Scott, what about large properties that we have, and the idea of, do we need all of that property?
Well, that's just a discussion to have a committee, and I would like to be a part of it, is what I had said before. And Bertha, I don't think you were here at that meeting, but just to create an ad hoc or a committee to look at all of our properties. And just have a look, do we need these, and then possibly put some on the market if the market is improving a little bit, if ones that we do not currently need.
Right, and that is a subject that comes out periodically, and we always have such a long process. And Larry can attest to this, a complicated process on putting these
There's
parcels
steps.
on the market and finding potential buyers. So as I say, we've been hearing that for a long time, and I agree with you, and I'd be glad to
Okay.
sit on
Yeah,
that.
just put a committee together to work with staff and eventually, I don't think we're in a real time crunch on it, but just to start looking at it.
All right, that's,
all
everyone
I got.
agrees? Okay. Last night, I think the last UWPA meeting I attended had to have been 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So I recognized Larry Thompson and Karen Rojas, and those weren't the only two faces. Everybody else was new, but it was a very interesting meeting, and Dennis was there, and so I extended our thanks to UMRA, General Manager Alan Bello, for being just a wonderful person to work with, and his staff, and so they were pleased to hear that. I don't really have much. So, future agenda items?
That's what we brought up.
That's it?
Yeah.
Well, okay. But we're forming a committee, and it'll be on an agenda item. Another thing that came up for me again was termination of service. And I know that we had talked about looking at that policy because it comes up again and again and again. And I don't know why it is in my district. Nobody,
Didn't we have it in the finance committee at one?
it was, and
It's part of the rules and regs governing service. That's one of the first policies that we're updating right now, customer service, and Joel's group is working on that. And we had an initial discussion within the finance committee about it. Termination of service is one of the, that's the hot button, probably the most hot button issue of any of those within that reg. And I know there's a lot of, this is brought up a lot, and I've got those requests. And so, and I know sometimes there's not a satisfactory answer for some of the people who really want to do it, given that we own and operate a system that's based on a certain number of in-unit customers. And if we were to start allowing people to move off the system, then we would not be able to fund our continuing operations and provide the level of service. But there's still some things that we've discussed, if there are some possible changes that can be made where, it truly is not possible for them to ever gain service, or, some things that are not recognized right now in the policy and they'd have to come to the board for a variance. That we are looking at all of those things as part of the update of the policy as well.
okay. It just seems like it's been a long time since we've talked about it, so, yeah. Okay. Next board meetings, Wednesday, June 10th, 9 a.m., that's a regular board meeting. Wednesday, June 24th, and we'll look at that one, since Director Ratterman will be gone.
And so will Terry.
Oh,
will be in
Terry.
Ireland.
Yeah, I'll be
Oh,
gone
okay.
too, yeah.
Okay.
Leave on the 23rd.
And of course, that's our meeting that we would consider, the board would consider adoption of the budget. So that's an important one. And, if we have a quorum of 3, we can certainly go ahead. You will see, everyone should see the draft budget next meeting. We'll have that on the agenda for the 10th. And you can certainly provide, even if you're not here on the 24th, you can provide direction to us then if there's things that you'd like to see changed. But I would say as long as we know we have at least 3, I'd say let's stay with the 24th. Because there is going to be quite a bit of work that we have to do to finalize that in anticipation of the 24th. So moving it up, I don't know that's going to be possible.
Okay.
So your advice then, for those of us that won't be here, is just review what you provide and provide comments if we feel it's...
Yes, and with the 10th, that would be that would be the opportunity to provide any input you would, any changes you'd like to see. We can get that direction then, and that would be incorporated into what we bring back for consideration on the 24th.
Because I don't think you'd like to be on the phone.
No.
You don't have time to post your agenda.
Dublin Airport.
I couldn't understand it with the accent.
Okay, item number 9, closed session. Item 9A, conference with real property negotiators, property portion of APN 042-035-003, San Andreas, under negotiation, price and terms of payment, negotiating parties, Dave Egerton and Larry Diamond. 9B, conference with legal counsel, potential litigation, government code 54956.9D4, one case. 9C, conference with labor negotiators, management and confidential unit, and SEIU Local 1021, government code 54957.6, negotiators Dave Egerton and Stacy Lawler. Okay.
Public comment. Public comment.
Do I, any comment from the public? Seeing none, convene to closed session.